just entered the bear crawling nation on the No Agenda Stream.
This is R. Morderman, and welcome to the other side of live. Welcome everybody to the #1 late night Poo-Flinging motivational show, otherwise known as the other side of live. Tonight's working title is Who Flung Poo? Other People's Messes. Tonight we are alive from Brooklyn Center, Minnesota, and deep in the Bear's Den in Monticello, Georgia. And now I want to introduce a champion poo flinger in his own right. I give you my close personal friend, the dark side of positive, Charles McFall. Say hello, Charles.
I don't want to. That was a horrible intro.
You are a champion poo flinger. And I had to read it very carefully because it looks like it says poo finger. So
I hate you.
Now, before we get into this, I want to say we have a room full of people, and by room full, I mean 7. So everybody say hello. Hello. So this is the other side of live light, because I wasn't to be able to get my poo together enough to set this up for everybody. We have a small group of people that I really don't know, and we're not going to meet everybody one by one. We're not doing that tonight. One person, yay! The new
Some
one.
of us.
So Charles, how are you doing tonight?
I am fine. I had some issues earlier this week that I called you about that we can talk about when you're ready. But tonight I'm doing all right.
Good. That's good to hear. Anybody who wants to call in, I'm going to give the phone number out early tonight. The phone number is 218-632-1724. We are talking about other people's messes and how they come and smack us in the face and all that poo-flinging that goes on with that. But before any of that happens, we're going to do a little bit of an advertisement, because next week something new happens at the other side of live. That's right, we're going to be at a new time. Yay! New time. And nobody cares. Everybody cheers!
Yay!
New time. Even downstairs with the gentleman who's playing some, I think, World of Warcraft.
Nerd.
Nerd. So we are going to be starting, instead of 9:30 that we've been doing since the beginning of the year, we're going to begin at 9 o'clock.
Nice.
So from this point on, 9 o'clock, if you tune in at 9:30, you'll be late. And we'll see if I tune in on time even.
Welcome back to the Bear Crawling Live Show.
Yeah. Now, last week we had Tosol episode number 62, Making Choices. And I thought that was a pretty good show.
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
It's one of those rare ones that it felt good doing it. I went back and listened to it again. I really liked it. I really liked what we discussed. And we even kept on talking about it throughout the week. So I think it had an effect, at least on us, and probably those masses of people listening to us. Right, crowd?
Woo! Yeah!
Power. So, but tonight, I think they're going to start a wave. Tonight we're going to be talking about Who Flung Poo. And I think this was something that you brought up to me, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. Other people's messes.
Other people's messes. So what inspired you to do this?
Dead
air is your friend.
So reminds me of Big Bang Theory.
But it's the idea that we've been talking about in the Success Freaks, which comes up next week. One of the things we go over and over again is mainly, and it's cleaning up a mess once a month. And it's so easy on this path to get so self-focused. We don't realize that other people aren't as far down the path, or you run into things that you can't clean up. And it's just, you're being around other people. My best friend's got issues. My wife's got issues, family issues. And it's like, well, what happens when you're moving down the path and you're cleaning up your stuff and you're moving forward, bigger, better, more, and you start getting angry and you realize it's because somebody else's mess is getting in the way. That's kind of what spawned this.
Right. Now, for those of you who are new to the other side of live or just tuning in, the mainly is an acronym for a different kind of goals that you set for the week or the month or whatever, and the M stands for messes. And if you're going to clean up a mess that month, it could be something as simple as cleaning up your work desk, which I always need to do, or your desktop on your laptop, or your bank account, whatever it is, cleaning up your mess. But often we have to deal with other people's messes, and I think that's what Charles is talking about. Can everybody relate?
Text me.
Oh, yeah.
So I have audience participation. That's awesome.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. Well, don't you know?
So, so did you ever have to deal with the crap that other people are dealing with? You're chatting with a friend and you realize you just stepped into a hot steaming mess of negativity or whatever it is. You know, and it smacks you in the face and you're like, oh, I was just talking to you and all of a sudden I have to deal with this. Or you get caught in the fallout of something that they're dealing with. Now, I'm sure that you had real life events that inspired you for this, Charles. Do you have anything you want to bring up?
I don't know.
That's great for radio.
It's really kind of close to home. We'll see if I can dance around things without being too ultimately specific.
Okay.
I guess an idea is the journey that you and I have been on. That especially for you, I think it can be hard because you're a single man, I guess is the best way to put it. You can be around people, but you have nobody you answer to. If you want to pick up tonight after the show and go to Vegas to get ready for Blog World, you could do that because you can do that as long as you come and get your paycheck, the next weekend and do your show. Whereas a lot of us, we have 9-to-5 jobs, or we have, the wife or the husband or the family, or, some of us still live at home, not me, whatever, but some people still live at home. You have other people you're around. And we start this journey, right? We're doing bigger, better, more, and we're doing Success Freaks, and we're doing Mainly. And you're like, I'm new at this. I'm trying to visualize positive stuff. I'm trying to handle things differently. And I think one of the things I found is like, man, I keep running into, I'm losing my temper here. And it does make me stop and go, why? But some of it is, it's an old mess I've created. But some of it is, I get around people at work. In my job particularly, I am not around people at all. I work from home, but I still work with at least 20 other people who are in an office. So there's a lot of times where I get half a message that assumes that I know everything that's going on for the last 2 weeks. I'm like, you don't tell me anything. I'm at home doing what I do, and I run into messes there. Or I run into, those kind of things. Where I'm new to this, I'm trying to get out there, trying to do something with my life, and you run into something around you. Yeah, trying to think of something specific. But when somebody else is a bad mood, let's say you and I are doing our weekly thing, and you come over and you've just had a bad day because you had a flat tire and the gym was closed, and you ended up eating 5 Subways from Subway, and now you feel all fat, and you're asking me if your jeans make you look fat, and I want to throw you out the window because you're skinny, and all this stuff is going on, and now I'm in a bad mood. It's that kind of thing, other people's messes.
Right. So it sounds like almost like, emotionally like you're taking on what everybody else is throwing at you. You step in their stuff long enough and suddenly the negativity gets on you that it's like you got something on your shoe. Look, I got brand new white tennis shoes and I'm walking around, I'm hanging out with my buddy and I walk through his yard and there's poop all over his yard and I got poop on my nice new shoes. I didn't have poop on it before and I was in a good mood. And now I'm not in a good mood. Is that what you're talking about? Poop on your shoes?
Something along those lines, yeah. It's how do we learn to realize when it's not our mess, when it's not our poop on our shoes?
I think that's something that does come with just self-actualization. That's one of the first things you realize is that you're responsible for your own life. You're not responsible for somebody else's path. Although you want to help them along the way. It also goes for all those people who want to help out. Let's say you have a friend or a family member or somebody who's really messing up their life, whether it's a bad relationship or we talk about alcoholism a lot because of where we've all come from, et cetera, et cetera. We have to learn that whatever they're going through, yeah, you can point them in the right direction. Yeah, you can give them hints. But bottom line is, this is their path. They've got to learn it. And sometimes those life lessons are there for them to learn from, and you've got to let them.
There is definitely honest. I think that's an easy answer. That's an easy answer to come off and say, well, the first thing you realize in self-actualization is that you're responsible for your own life and not other people's past. And I got to say, it's not the first thing I learned. I'm still kind of learning it to a point. And it's not always that I want to do something about it. It's let's say it's my wife, and let's say she's having a bad day, and I come downstairs. I've had a great show, and she just vents all over me, or yells at me because sometimes that happens in life. I've done it. I've been mad at other things in my life and yelled at my kids, or yelled at you, or yelled at Angie, or it comes out in the wrong way sometimes. And it's not that I want to fix their life. It's not that I want to deal with their mess. It's that now I'm in a really bad mood and the world sucks. How do you get from that to going, okay, you've got stuff going on and I understand that. How do you get to the Zen, I guess? Because honestly, I mean, you've said that before, but it does feel like just an easy answer. Well, you realize you're not responsible for other people's lives. Yeah, well, that's in my head. That's not where I live, and I'm not trying to fix their lives sometimes.
Right. How do you get to a sense of detachment without coming off as being
without being detached? Thank you.
Without being detached. And yet, you're right. It is easy for me to say now. Do I always do it? No. But it's a lot easier for me to say now than it was 5 years ago when I was still deep in my own poop, and then going, oh, once I've learned, oh, I'm responsible for my life, then I can go, oh, so are they. Well, you know, we do coaching, we do helpful hints here on the other side of live. We like to be very transparent and show our mistakes as well, so people can see, oh, that's what it looks like to make a mistake and get better at it. Or that's what it looks like to be stuck for a little while, just like me. Oh, and get better at it. So we like to give those helpful hints, but the bottom line is this is their path. You know, when other people's messes meet up to greet us, what can we do for them? And I heard a story about Robert Kiyosaki, who is the Rich Dad, Poor Dad guy. He wrote all those books. And he has his wife, and when they were first starting off in real estate, he was beginning to teach her how to do real estate deals and how to manage their rental properties. And she had a house that she had just started with, and she's like, okay, I want to raise the rent on this house. Now, he knew what was going to happen, but instead of going, oh, no, instead he went, okay, let's see what happens. She raised the rent on the house, and she lost the renters. For many, many months, they had to pay for that mistake, and she lost a lot more money. It took many months. Once they got renters back in there, it took a lot more time for her to be able to get all that money back, but it was a very valuable lesson, and he let her do it. Because it was a safe way, it was a controlled environment, and it wasn't, you know, they weren't going to lose their shirts on it. Now it gets a little tougher when you're talking about your kid and the child is about to touch the hot stove. It gets a little tougher when you're talking about your kid and they're getting harassed at school or bullied at school. It gets even tougher when you're talking about your child at college and when they come back with their first credit card that they were able to get while at college. Do you let them make those mistakes they're going to make? Or do you stop them? Or do you give a cautionary tale? What's the deal? What do you do then? So there's that. Then there's the, as we talked about with the alcoholics before. We have friends who are alcoholics, and it's like, you shouldn't do this. You're hurting your life. You're hurting your friends. You're hurting your relationship. It's harder to hold your hand back and go, when you're ready, you'll be ready. You're not ready right now. You're just too busy having fun or practicing your own brand of avoidance behavior. That's been my experience. I've been clean and sober for over 8.5 years now. And I have friends who are still way into drinking and drugs and all that kind of thing. And it does not do them any good for me to point my finger, waggle my finger and go, you shouldn't do that. In fact, it just makes me the annoying guy. I just have to be there and live my life. And they know I don't drink. So if they want to talk to me afterwards, if they're ready, then great. If not, then that's their path.
I like to say that I honestly don't know any alcoholics. I'm just really good friends with people who are really good at drinking.
They don't have drinking problems. They're quite good at it.
They're quite good at it. That's right. I could learn a thing or two. You might or might addiction lessons with Lala Siegfried, but I also have been doing some drinking lessons because she told me I wasn't good at it.
At first, I thought you said addiction lessons instead of addiction.
So did I.
Really? Because you kind of blanked out for a second. Like, really?
Well, you could call me out. What?
Yeah, Lala's actually in the house tonight.
Hi.
She's waving. Really?
Oh,
Radio
seriously?
girl? Really?
Hi.
And blushing.
Hope
That's
all
awesome.
my nonsense goes, hi.
Hi.
So if anybody wants to call in tonight and talk to Lala Siegfried, the number is 218-632-1724. Everybody in the house, holla?
Hi.
They're getting tired of me, I think.
I'd like to get questions. To be honest, I think we need some more questions from people there. Well, I think it's this, or I have a question about that. And honestly, we'll take any question. It doesn't have to be about who flung poo or any of that mess. To be honest, I don't think Mornett and I are speaking the same language on this one. Every time we've talked about it, you really fall into where you put it in your life, which is helping other people. And I really I really want something for myself. And I would love to get some questions that maybe let us both put some input on things or helping.
So if anybody has a question, you can raise your hand. And if nobody has a question, then that's they're all looking at me like, do we have to do this? You don't have to, but if you have one. Yeah, we talked about that before, and you're more of what can we do for us? You know,
Right.
How do you hold back from helping these people and deal with your feelings
And again, you're speaking Spanish because I actually don't give a crap about the other people in this particular situation. I want to know what I can do for me when I go and call somebody at work and I'm trying to fix a problem and it's all good, and then get my butt handed to me verbally because they've had a bad day and I should know this and this. I mean, this used to happen a lot before they replaced the boss that I had, that literally I'm doing a great job and they would nitpick the littlest things just because they had to control something. And they're the kind of person that believes when you get a yearly review, they have to mark you something horrible because then they didn't do their job, because you're not learning if they don't mark you horrible. I'm going, how do I not, well, obviously I hold my tongue, I hang up the phone, then I'm ill the rest of the day. Then it affects my work. Then it changes me for a moment as long as I allow it to, and I get that I allow it to. What can I do to say, you know what, you're an idiot in my mind, and just let it go? Or you're something more positive than that.
No, I think you're on the right path there. You're an idiot. Actually, no. I mean, it's a lot of what we've talked about in other episodes where you realize that I use the term your joy is not predicated on your surroundings. It's not based on what your experiences or the way of other people's emotions around you, et cetera, et cetera. But you can also talk about, whatever this is, your anger, your ire, or whatever they're dealing with. It's not you. It's up to you to find a way to that, like you said, that moment of Zen, that sense of detachment. You can look into religion to do it. You can try meditation to do it. You can pray. I mean, many different things are working. You just have to find out what's working for you. And the bottom line is you just have to be okay with yourself, because that's where it all comes down. Because then when I got somebody yelling at me and I'm just like, they're just having a bad day. And if I'm able to be detached enough, and then I can choose, do I want to get angry here? Because they're kind of in my face. Nah, they're just having a bad day. Or I can choose to go back off. I don't think you should talk to me that way. Then you have a choice. The problem is in the beginning, without any kind of a sense of centering yourself or finding some way to ground yourself or seeking, I don't want to say enlightenment, but a better way of being, you're not going to have a choice. You're just going to be this one great big knee jerk. And I've been that guy. I've been that knee jerk. I mean, even last year, I talked about it before, where I blew up at my partner's at the Georgia Fair backstage, and there were people around. They even came up afterwards and said, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm fine." And I was kind of embarrassed. So in the spirit of being transparent, I did a vlog, which was, I have a wicked temper. I talked about how much of a jackass I was. I did it for two reasons. One, so that I could call myself out on it, so that the next time I'm about to do that, I think twice about it. Two, so I could share with other people, look, I'm kind of a jackass sometimes, just like you. So not just you specifically.
It's like you people who are all jackasses in my world.
We all are. We all are. Come on. I mean, like I said, I quit drinking 8.5 years ago, no big deal, and I was like, oh, I'm going to be a better person. And for a while was. And then I did something stupid. I was like, oh, I'm still a jackass, even sober. That was me. That wasn't the alcohol. That was me. Great. So having to deal with that,
I guess so, yeah. I've always said alcohol just turns up the volume. It doesn't change who you are.
Yeah,
When
much.
I get drunk, like I haven't been drunk in a long time. I've drank and I've done other things, but I don't tend to get where I'm just falling down. When I get drunk, I'm very goofy and laugh, all the time and make people laugh. That's my volume turned up. Of course, luckily I've never been in a situation where somebody set my temper off, because then I would imagine that that volume would be turned up as well. But it didn't change who I was. It just turns up the volume.
Right. So what have you done in the past when you've had to deal with these people who are, blowing up or exploding at you, or
either I show them what the bear is like, and I show them that they're just not bigger, better, more than I am, Or, in the case of like a boss, I just have to, yes, ma'am, and hang up the phone and just be depressed for a while because I have zero control over my job and they make me feel like I'm a bad employee. And honestly, that is one of my, I don't know if you call it love language or my trigger or what, but I like to do a good job. And I know I can't do the best job. Here, let me put it this way. I'm doing the best job I can. I can't do the job I used to do 2 years ago because I don't have the tools or equipment to do what I used to do. But I'm doing the best I can. And when I get in those situations, it does bother me because I know I'm not doing what I used to. I know I'm not the rock god that I was at my job anymore. But it's not my fault. I do the best I can. But I feel already like I'm not doing the best. And then when they pick on that, I don't yell back. It's my boss. I need my job. It's not a horrible situation. 9 times out of 10, they leave me alone. So I just hang up the phone and I end up doing slower scans because it depresses me and I get unmotivated and I'm upset for a day or two. And usually it'll come back because I'll get into something I am really good at, which is the podcasting or promoting other people or just planning on what we're going to do next. But those are my choices, honestly, typically. Now, there are times when, like my wife, she's pregnant now and not getting a lot of sleep. And a lot of the time, if she's ill about something or unreasonably negative, I usually go, okay, she's tired. I get that. That's my way of helping her. But so there is a human factor there. But, yeah, the options typically are, I'll show you who the bear is. Don't be an asshole because everybody's got to be good at something. I got my master's degree in it, or I get depressed because I can't do anything about it.
Has that worked out for you at all?
I'm still alive. I don't know what.
It sounds like the problem with the boss is that it's shining a light on what you're already feeling about yourself. It sounds like if you didn't believe that were true, you'd be like, he's an idiot. I don't have to deal with that. Or you just think like, oh, he's having a bad day. Or you think whatever, because you know that you're doing a good job. You're doing the best you can, and you're not this person that they're calling you out on.
All right. Well, part of that is true. I can definitely see part of that. But I think the other part is it doesn't matter if you think you're doing great. If somebody's always nitpicking at you, eventually you're going to feel like you're not doing it great.
Well, then that's where we get back to you're responsible for your own experience. If you are really feeling good about yourself and what you do, and it's going to take them a while to get to you to start to feel bad, then you're going to start. Then it's up to you to not have to put up with that abuse. To be able to say, "Stop talking. Do you have a problem with me? Is there really something going on here? Because I'm doing a great job." And then you can cite your examples.
Well, I will say for everyone that's in my position, you're probably right. But I have no idea how to get there at this point.
Right.
I feel like every time you say that, and I'm not saying you're wrong. A lot of times when I felt like I feel now, it ends up that I can get to a place where my mind can see it differently or I can see it differently or whatever. And I can say, okay, I see what you mean. I see how I can apply. I guess that's a better term. I see how I can apply it to my own life. And at this point where I'm sitting and what you're saying, I don't see how to apply it. I don't see how to get to there from here.
Right. It sounds like instead of dealing with the outside stimulus of your boss or whoever it is that's picking at you, you need to begin dealing with your own self-worth. You need to begin dealing with your own self-esteem.
And what about you and some of the stuff you've gone through with other people's messes?
Well, there have been times, absolutely. Before I started really working on myself, I was always, I remember even way back in high school, people are picking on me, and to the point where my friends were going, "You're kind of a whiner. Stop doing that. Your life's not that bad." And then I always felt like, and I was use the example of my buddy Jeff. He's always picking on me. He's being mean, so I'm not happy with him. And I had a friend just say, maybe he's just trying to be your friend. He's just goofing around with you. Once I changed my attitude, our relationship changed. I realized that I was the jackass in this equation. I was the one that was having, the problem because of my self-esteem. He was just trying to be my buddy. And once I don't take things too personally, I can move from there. And that goes the same thing with when other people bring things to my face. If they're getting down on me, it's like, look, if I don't need to take this personally, I can look at what they're trying to say to me and go, okay, do I really have room for growth here? Or is there something I need to fix? What's their immediate complaint? Sure, maybe they're really upset and the way they're doing it, the way they're coming to my face is not the best way they can bring it to me. What's the core of it? What's bothering them? And chances are, if I'm really irritated and pissed off at what they're saying, is because there's a kernel of truth in it. And I'm like, oh yeah, I didn't do that. Oh yeah, I let that slip through the cracks. Maybe for viable reasons, but still. So, what had to happen for me was I had to begin changing within myself. Begin working on what I believed about myself. And once that happened, once I started feeling better about me, then when somebody brings a problem to me, I can look at it as that problem and not everything else I'm bringing to the table. But that was me. I still get those knee-jerky reactions. I still turn into that 5-year-old kid who's whining about people picking on him. And then I'm like, wow, how old am I right now? I have to work on that. Anybody else here in the room ever feel like that?
Oh yeah.
They're really quiet now.
So what are some things that you've done to, is it just basically mindfulness that you're using to change your perception of things? Or are you, how are you going about that?
Part of it is mindfulness. Part of it is, I talk about doing affirmations, and although affirmations have gotten a bad rap, before I would start on a project or before I begin doing something, I think, oh, that's never going to work out. Why even bother? Now, my mind doesn't even go there anymore. Now it's like if I start to have that kind of thought, then the affirmation chimes in.
Right.
And I move forward anyways. And the only way that I can keep doing things like this, I'll read book after book after book, and sometimes I'll remember the stuff, and sometimes I won't remember the stuff. But eventually that stuff sinks in. Mm-hmm. And it's through practical application. I also have done a little bit of meditation and energy work. That's for me. I know people do it through prayer. Yeah. You have to have your own. It sounds like you're reacting like you've gone through something like this.
I'm a holistic health practitioner, so I'm
well,
familiar with this.
We have a shill in the room. He'll be asking all my questions tonight. Awesome.
I've got a little bit more of a practical standpoint on that journey for myself. I was in a spot where I just knew I couldn't stay. I don't mean physical location. I just mean a place in life where I couldn't pay my bills, and I couldn't provide for my family, and I was tired, stressed, you name it. All I knew then was I can't stay here, and I have to move to something better. I have to, and I'm a control kind of guy. I'm an action kind of guy. So what can I do to make this better? A reference more that makes a lot is the woman in the dating situation. If a woman keeps dating a guy who's abusive or a jerk or whatever you want to say, it doesn't necessarily have to be violence, just somebody who's controlling of her or negative, and she dumps him and gets with another guy, it's the same thing, gets with another guy, it's the same thing. You see that it's you. And that was my thing, is I kept jumping from job to job to try to make my situation better, kept picking crap jobs that had I had my eyes open and really looked at the bigger picture, I would have seen, well, this is the same job. What I did wasn't with affirmation or prayer or any of that, honestly, and it was, I have to not be here. What's better? And step by step, slowly by slowly, that didn't even make sense, slowly by slowly. How'd you let me say that, Mordit?
I don't know, but I think it should become one of our sayings now. Slowly by slowly.
That's our T-shirt now. TheOtherSideOfLive.com. Slowly by slowly. All right. So
sound good.
One step at a time, I started improving one little thing in my life. And my wife brought me this idea of the Financial Peace University by Dave Ramsey, and that was another little piece. And then I got a better job, and that was another little piece. And then it got to the point where if we were scared to do something new, if we were like, well, we can't do that, we're living out of fear, all we had to do was look back and say, well, we did this and it worked, and we did that and it worked, and we did this and it worked, and that's not the same, but let's at least try it. Yes, we can have a safety net. Yes, we can make sure, well, if this fails, the whole world's not going to collapse. But at least let's try it. And we got past and it worked. And then we tried bigger and bigger steps to where a year ago, we were paying cash for a Disney vacation for a family of 4 and paying for the new baby that was on the way. Or I guess that's almost 2 years ago now or something like that. Anyway, the point is I came from nothing to being able to take big steps like a family vacation that never would have happened. Or as in the case of this past week where I had to go to the dentist emergency and have a tooth pulled because it was killing me. And we had the money, not because we make a ton of money, but because we started fixing the little messes in our life. We started taking care of those little steps, the bad choices that we had. And now we can look back and see that we've made it this far. Why can't we go further?
Right. Now, did you find that when you were going to job or place to place, did you find that you had a lot of the same problems following you around?
Yeah, more or less.
So why do you think that was?
Because I was dating the wrong guys, apparently.
Yeah, that guy in the mirror.
It was, I wasn't dealing with the core issue of actually understanding the job I was doing. I was in the emergency medicine field, and even though they say on paper, you're going to make so much money, if you don't look at that and realize what that means for the year and break it down, I guess the core issue for me then was I just was a financial idiot. I had no idea what I was doing. I wasn't having a budget. I wasn't paying attention. I was told, hey, you're going to make $25,000 a year. That's great. What am I making per hour? You're making this. And I tried to figure out the per hour and what it's going to mean per paycheck. And trying to drive a stick shift when I just learned how to ride a bike, basically.
Right.
And what I started fixing was, okay, that's what, not Dave Ramsey didn't for everybody, but he worked for me, and his principles worked for me. And it was start with these little steps. That's what helped. Is instead of trying to fix this big problem, try to fix this other big problem and all that, do the little things. And putting money away in a savings I never touch unless it's an emergency, that has changed our lives greatly, more than you can ever imagine. Never having to ask somebody for money is an amazing thing. And then doing the budget and learning to talk to my wife about it and getting on the same page. Honestly, the first step was admitting we had a problem, much like, Sesame Street. You thought it'd say AA, and you're like, what are you talking about? Yeah, okay.
So yeah, it seems like the one common denominator there in all those situations was you.
Yeah.
And so the thing that needed to change was you. So if you're having that kind of dealing with that as you go from job to job to job, or you're having those experiences with those people, like, hey, these people are always doing this, and I'm getting pooped on. And I go over here, these people are always doing this, and I'm getting pooped on. Well, either that's a universal law that people are like that, and you're going to get pooped on, which I found in the different walks of life that I've been in might be true. I mean, being in the corporate world, everybody's always so nitpicking and always so backbiting and backstabbing. Oh, and they're always talking about everybody and gossiping, and I need another job. Okay, go the other end of the spectrum to the Renaissance festivals. It's the same thing. People are people are people. So it's up to you how you deal with that. It's up to you how that you make that change, whether you're going to let that affect you or you find some way for it not to affect you. Now, there's some energetic things you can do. There's some mindful things that you can do. What is your name?
Sean.
Sean, what have you done that has worked for you? Here, you spoke up, brother man.
I've done a lot of stuff. I mean, meditation, mindfulness, affirmations. I mean, basically everything is an affirmation. I mean, every thought you can think of as an affirmation, because when you're asking your brain a question, your brain has to reply to it. So anything like that is an affirmation. So just being mindful of what affirmations I was putting out there. Also doing things like acupuncture, color puncture, chiropractic work, massage.
And this has helped you deal with the poo that people have flung at you?
Oh yeah. Well, in Chinese naturopathic philosophy, the poo that people are throwing at you is processed essentially by the liver qi, the liver. So basically the liver is what processes harder emotions, anger, fear, anxiety, stuff like that. The stomach processes conflict. And so by making sure that I have a good qi flowing through the different systems of my body, or making sure that the physical organ is healthy by doing like liver cleanses, moist heat liver packs, stuff like that, I'm able to handle much easier when people throw poo at me. It doesn't affect me anymore.
So it's not just a mental thing. It's almost like taking care of yourself physically will help do that as well.
Well, at all three levels. In holistic medicine, the belief is, and the common consensus is, from pretty much every single holistic health practitioner in the world, is that basically pains, diseases, anything that ails you, stuff like that, starts out as a spiritual thought, and we actually manifest that into our physical reality. So, I mean, it's still something that you're manifesting. So, and it's going to affect you on the physical level. The body is going to take the brunt of anything that is going on spiritually, mentally, emotionally, stuff like that. And so you have to make sure that your body can bear the weight of that.
Nice. Thank you. Does anybody else have anything they want to chime in with?
We let him do all the talking.
They've elected a leader, and he is speaking for them.
I see both Lala and Rathburn putting up great points in the chat room. I'm sure they would love to talk about that.
Me first.
I'll come up. Great. But why don't we could just read what you've written here while you're here in the room. Really. I'm getting poo flung at me, my friend. I'm not liking it.
That's why I've been sitting over here giggling the whole time, because I keep reading what's being posted in the chat room.
Do you have anything you want to say?
Over my shoulders.
I don't know.
Do you want to read what you wrote so we can hear it in your
I'm
voice?
not sure which part he's talking about, I guess. Are you talking about like the mom stuff?
Well, there you did that, and you talked about when I was talking about job to job. You said so like me right now.
Well, I talked about the budgeting stuff. I'm working on that whole thing because we talked about that a couple weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm getting a little bit better. I've paid a few school loans on time, so that's good.
Baby steps.
Yeah, exactly. Big, expensive baby steps. I guess, I've never tried any, like, actual holistic stuff, or, I'm not one to, like, I'm weird about what I take in, I guess. Like, I'm always afraid of, like, how it's going to affect me, so, but I have been trying, like, the affirmation stuff, and my mom and I, we have a great relationship now, so I don't want it to, like, come across when I say, like, that this is how it was when I was growing up, that, it's bad now, because we're really good friends now, and we got past everything, and forgive and forget. But it took a really long time, and it was just brain stuff. Like, I liked how you explained it, how you ask your brain a question and it has to answer. And it definitely has been like that the last 2 years of repairing that damage that was done on a very daily basis and especially someone like your mother, who I feel, her opinion matters so much growing up, like this is the one person that you sort of hold on a pedestal. And when she's saying things like that to you, whether it's a mother or father, I suppose, parent, you really start to believe it, not just because of the repetitiveness, but it took a long time to start reminding myself that, like you said too, it's her. Like those were her things that she had to deal with, and I had to deal with the way she was putting that out to me. And so, it's every day, it's like, okay, I feel like crap, but it's okay because I'm not this, there's good stuff about me. It's just like I'm starting the Post-it thing, writing little Post-it notes and putting them everywhere. And I think the visual really helps a lot too. Just be looking at it all the time and, forcing yourself. The same kind of thing as my mom saying, this about you. I'm reading it every day. This about myself. And so I'm trying to kind of balance things out, and it seems to be working, but...
Right. I think that we've all grown up with having to deal with some aspect or some parental unit that we felt were picking on us or just harshing us or whatever. And whether or not that was a real thing, and I'll talk about how it wasn't in a second, whether or not that it was a real thing, you still get the choice of whether or not you're going to be the victim of this. I think it's Carlos Mencia even makes a joke out of being sexually abused. He's like, yeah, some guy touched my pee-pee. I move on. He's able to do that. Other people aren't.
Right.
At different levels of everything. Now, how this might not be that thing, I remember going to a landmark forum, and the guy was talking about how his mom had said something to him when he was much younger, and it devastated him, and he held on it for all, it has ruined their relationship, and he held himself back. And then one day when he got old enough, he came up to his mom and he goes, that really hurt me. And she looked at him and said, that? I meant this. I didn't mean that. I hope that really didn't affect you. He goes, no, it only changed my whole life. He had been holding on to something that he thought his mom meant when she meant something completely different. So sometimes that happens too. You have to be careful of that. We remember things a certain way. You did this and it was about this. No, I did this because of this thing here. There's a series of books by Piers Anthony called the Incarnations of Immortality. And it starts off with death, and then you get time, and then you get, I think, nature, and all these other things. And in all of them, the bad guy is the devil, and he's always defeated at the very end. And then I think there's 7 books. The 6th book is called For Love of Evil, and it's the devil's point of view. And it goes back to all of those other books, and it shows those same stories from his point of view. And you see where he was actually doing things because he either had to or because he was trying to protect somebody. Now, I'm not giving you sympathy for the devil. I'm talking about this series of books. So you don't know what's happening behind the scenes. You don't know why your parents are doing something. You don't know why. There's some things that are unconscionable, though. You know, the abuse is not okay. Period.
Well, we found out later on that it was an actual mental problem in the sense that she was imbalanced chemically. So once she had found a prescription that worked for her, that put her, I know that the person she is now is very much who she was then, but whatever she had going on up there was messing things up and was sort of turning things around for her. And so she had maybe a skewed perspective of things. And so once she found something that kind of was able to put her into the right mindset of how she kind of really wanted to be or who she was as a person, once she was on that step, things changed so much. And moving out of the house and being away from each other certainly helped a lot. But, once she was kind of able to find herself a little better, and I had found myself a little better, now we found each other and we're in a really good place. But, knowing that it wasn't that I was a complete failure growing up, because I did plenty of good things and, had plenty of successes and was a good student and blah, blah, blah. Just nothing was ever right for her because nothing was right in her head.
Right.
So, she found her thing and it worked for us and we've, found a good place. But like you said, everybody's different. And
do you find that now that you realize why that all happened, do you find that when certain things that come up that would trigger those feelings of inadequacy or whatever, do they still come up, or are you free of that a little more? What happens now?
I think it's helpful that I don't like to say the term forgiven her, because I don't feel as though she did anything with true malice. I don't think, I'm her only daughter. She loves me very much. I don't think she ever said the things to me to hurt me purposely. And so saying I forgive her might not be the right word, but I let those things go and they're in the past, and they have, while I struggled with them growing up, they've put me in a position now to be stronger about things and it has definitely changed my perspective. So when little things every once in a while pop up, I just have to remind myself that, she's doing better and I'm doing better, and, just moving forward is the main thing for us. And, I just try not to think about that stuff anymore.
Right. It sounds like you're getting back to that mindfulness.
Yeah.
That is probably the ultimate example of other people's issues, other people's poo, if you will. Is I think all of us tell the same story on the surface of, well, as a baby, maybe not, but as adults, I know I could realize once I started dealing with my own issues, I could look at my parents and their actions and see that, quote unquote, they tried their best, but they never dealt with their own mess. And their mess got dumped all over me and my sister, and still does to a point. And maybe that's the ultimate example of all this, is that's somebody you have to be around. And that's not necessarily, I guess, but that's somebody typically you're around. And the ultimate thing is, it doesn't make it okay that they tried their best. To me, it doesn't make it okay. No, she didn't do it with malice, and neither did mine. I look back now and go, okay, I don't think my mom said the things she said out of spite and with intention to hurt. Okay, there was no criminal intent there. But you look at it now and you just see how she deals with the world and the things that come out of her mouth and the negativity that's there. And you go, wow, I can only be around you in small bits. And for the most part, I have dealt with myself so that I don't automatically get those messages. But I think Lala would agree, I hope she would, that just because you grow up and let it go, it doesn't make it okay. But there's nothing we can do about that going back. We can only go forward with it.
Exactly. I do agree.
Right, and I think that, we're talking about what we can do in those immediately in those situations. One of them is to remove yourself from the situation. One of them is to point out if somebody's pooping on you, or they're just, one of my pet peeves is somebody who starts the conversation with this, "Hi, this is how my life sucks." Especially if I haven't seen them in a long time. I've walked up to somebody, "Hey, it's great to see you." "Oh yeah, hey, what's going on?" And then you get the litany of everything that's wrong, and it's like, oh my God. I don't want to talk to you anymore. If that keeps happening with that person, eventually you can call them out. The first time you just kind of have to, I just got to remove myself. But if all you give me is that when I see you, eventually you're going to get the conversation of, do you know that all you ever talk to me about is this? So that's who I get that that's who you are, but you're teaching me. Before I thought you were this great person. Now you're teaching me that you're just kind of whatever this, this dark cloud is that's going around with you. Stop teaching me that. And if you can't, then stop hanging around with me, because I don't want to become that guy. I don't want to step in that poo and then smell like that poo and then talk about how I hate this poo. And then all my friends are like, "Oh, you keep talking about the poo smell." So remove yourself is one thing. Yeah, and we talked about Sean. Mm-hmm. Sean talked about how the different things you can do energetically that you can do in your body. Now, maybe that's not your first step because you're like, that's a little woo-woo. It's a little out there for me. You take that first step on the path by reading a book. Find a book that you can read. We talk about affirmations because it's also that what you bring into your mind, what you take in, is going to fill you up, and that's what's going to help you deal with stuff. So if you're always taking in a bunch of crap, a bunch of negativity, then it's, of course, your first reaction is, I can't do that. I'm probably going to fail. Why bother? However, if you're taking in all the good stuff, when you start to go, I don't think I can do that, then the affirmation rises up. Oh, of course I can. I can do everything.
I'm sorry. Are you done? Don't mean to interrupt.
Go on.
Okay, thank you. You have all the friends. I'm an adult, dude.
Everybody say hi, Charles.
I didn't
Hi,
be here, Charles. We'll be your friend too.
That was Rathburn, by the way.
The cake is a lie. Stay away from it. All right.
No, it's not. It's blue.
I want to back that up. I keep hearing a lot about affirmations, and from where I come from,
Georgia?
Maybe. I'm just talking about my experience in life, but it could be a Southern thing too. I don't know. But I grew up in a religious family, of course, being South and all that too. But what I've seen affirmations be empty and fall through. And so what I want to back up all this with is do something. I've seen my sister write Bible verse after Bible verse after Bible verse on the mirror and dry erase marker, Post-it notes everywhere, even at one time having a poster that I agreed with saying, I won't allow other people to steal my joy. I went, wow, that's a really interesting statement. And yet, watch her fail time and time again. Watch her stay in the same places because they were empty. Because you can't have affirmations and sit on your derriere and do nothing. I did it the opposite way. Because I grew up that way, I said, screw all that noise. Forget positive thinking. I can make my own way. And I went and did stuff. And then I could look back and said, hey, I did that, so I'm better. And what I didn't realize was I built my affirmations the other way around. You can do it one way or the other. There's not one way right to do it. I did it the other way around, where I did stuff, saw that it was good, and that became my affirmation. I can do more because I did that. And then later on, was able to say, oh, well, for 2 years, I had my vision of doing this, and now I'm doing this. So therefore, the things I visualize will come about. If you have your affirmations, don't let that be that everything. Don't let it be your everything. Because if you're not doing anything with it, if you don't back it up with action, you're going to turn around 6 months, 2 months, a year, and go, wow, this crap really doesn't work. I really am a loser because I thought every day, man, I'm going to be a better person, and I'm not. Well, because thoughts don't get it done by themselves.
Right. I think you're absolutely right on this too. I mean, it sounds like the things that you did were your affirmation, or they became your affirmation. If you had doubts, you could look back and go, I did this, and I did this, and I did this. Of course I can do these other things.
Exactly. Sorry, I was like, yeah, that's fun.
You're nodding your head.
But you're absolutely right. Even when we first started, even for the first year that we did this show, you would talk affirmations, and I would have to say something else. I'd have to say, and I'd come up and say, dude, I just don't get it. I don't get affirmations. And because you came from a place of doing it for decades, maybe even, and going, I've been to Thailand and I'm super affirmer. And, and he never said that. Only when we're alone, but I wasn't supposed to say that. Anyway. But you come from, this has worked for me, worked for me, worked for me. And I'm going, dude, I crawled my way up the mountain. That didn't work for me. Now I realize, it was an affirmation. So I'm definitely not pooping on affirmations. I realized that what I did became my affirmations and built into something new. And affirmation simply means, I'm going to make it up because I don't know what it means, but it means knowing that you're doing something well over and over again.
Yeah. And I think that what you said about you have to do something is very correct. They even talk about the people who were in The Secret. One of their problems with it was it didn't go far enough into you have to act. Acting is the important thing. You can believe all you want. You can manifest all you want, and those opportunities are going to come your way. But until you get off your butt, reach out and seize them, nothing is still happening. You can stir the quantum soup all you want until something begins to manifest around you. But unless you do something with that, it's just going to be there for a moment, and somebody else will pick it up. So you have to act. Life is action.
Well, also part of that too is when you first start out doing these affirmations or becoming aware that you're doing these affirmations, because you're doing affirmations all the time, whether you realize it or not. 90% of your brain is subconscious thoughts and affirmations. So you can start saying that I have this affirmation to make $1 million in X amount of time. Now also you have to back that up with action as well. Start going towards that. But the other side of it is if you have this subconscious thought, like if you've been trained your entire life that you are not worth $1 million, you have been trained into your subconscious mind that you're not worth that. And so you say, I'm worth $1 million on the conscious side of your mind, but now your subconscious mind is going, no, you're not worth that. So it's literally canceling that out. So that's why you have to do those affirmations multiple times. You have to do them over and over and over again to start retraining the subconscious mind.
Right, I agree. And I want to say that specific affirmation, I've never heard it phrased like that before, and I got chills. Being worth something. I am worth being this. I'm worth becoming this. I'm worth $1 million, or however you want to do it. I am worth having a very healthy body. That gave me chills, and I think that's probably very powerful. I agree. You have to do it over and over again, and with feeling. Once more with feeling, because it's the feeling that really engages you, and you're filling up your whole body with that. And the thing that I'm learning lately, it's not what we desire. What we desire, you don't manifest what you desire. The universe doesn't really react to that. It does a little bit because that's the first step. Wanting is the first step, and saying I want this, but it reacts to who you are, who you really believe you are. And that's where sometimes the affirmations or the other things that you can do and the physical work that you do. I'm believing that I'm healthy. I'm going to affirm that I'm healthy. I'm constantly believing I'm healthy. Oh, look, I got a free membership to the gym. No, I have to do my affirmations. I can't do that right now. I'm healthy. And you got to get off your butt and do the work. The opportunity comes to you. And it's your belief in that and who you become, that 90% of your subconscious is, if you are fully that person. I am fully a person who does a podcast every week, and tens of people listen to me in this room alone. If I am that person, it happens. And believe me, it does happen. I wasn't kidding when I said I really liked last week's episode. I like the feeling, and I don't always like the feeling of it. I don't always like the experience of doing the show. Sometimes it feels tough. And then I go back and listen, and I really was a good show anyways. But last week I had a good experience with doing the show. I listened to it, and I really liked the show itself. And I had a sense of joy. And I won't even say pride. I had a sense of joy. Like, I'm so glad I do this. And I was happy that I was working with you, Charles. And this whole experience and this whole ride that we're on right now. So that is who I've become. So I can take that and grow from there. So I think doing those affirmations, or whatever it is, prayer or just mindfulness, or just thinking happy thoughts. Was that Mary Poppins? Or even Peter Pan. Think happy thoughts, and you can fly. Charles, are you there?
I'm busy flying, baby. So we got 16 seconds for Jabba interrupts. What do you want to say to make him laugh?
I just
Bears
wanna-
and pink tutus.
almost. Tickle the little Jabba belly.
Tickle, 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 tickle.
Okay.
Well, I do have a tip for all of your listeners too. For anybody that is having a hard time with affirmations, they feel that they're not working for them, how you can phrase the affirmation is actually as a question to yourself. Why is it so easy? That's the question. And then you say whatever else afterwards. So like for your example, your sister that had the poster about joy, the question that I would have her say is, why is it so easy to be filled with joy? And just keep saying that. And then all of a sudden, the brain is going to show you why it is so easy for you to be filled with joy.
And that's another way of doing those that I just learned tonight as well.
It literally tricks
God.
your brain. It literally tricks your brain.
We got some stuff to talk about before we get off the air.
So thank you, Sean, and his crew. Everybody say you're welcome.
You're welcome.
All right. So go ahead, Charles. First of all, next week.
Oh, I thought you told me to go ahead and then you took over. Like you-
And then I realized I was being rude, so I
Yeah,
stopped.
next week, 9 p.m. Eastern. We are starting half an hour early because we're also gaining the control to go longer if we like. So we're gonna start from 9 p.m. to 10 p.m. Eastern time is when we're gonna be rolling. And then if we really get into a topic and get to going, we can go longer and you can stay longer for the show, that kind of thing. And that will always be at mordantworld.com / is it NAS?
It is, but it's different now, isn't it? theothersideoflive.com/NAS.
That's right. I forgot. That's new. No one set that up.
That's right. We are now theothersideoflive.com/NAS. And of course, the NAS stands for No Agenda Stream.
Also, I want to talk about everybody has been responding to our Amazon campaign, and we appreciate it. We now have the ability to take sponsors on our show, and thank you for bringing the show to us every week, yada, yada, yada. But if you really would like it to stay commercial-free as it is, we really would love you to shop through our Amazon link. That's theothersideoflive.com / Amazon. Doesn't cost you a dime extra than what you would already spend, and it really helps us out greatly.
And something else that's coming out in October. Why don't you go pimp that out, too?
What are you going to do? God,
I'll
you
sit back
let
here and
me
just
drive
relax.
the car.
Rest on my laurels. I got affirmations I need to do.
October 1st, this next week we'll be sending out the newsletter or a special newsletter this next week. If you're not on the newsletter, I believe it's theothersideoflive.com / newsletter. And if not, Nolan, you're listening, go make it happen. But if you're not on the newsletter, contact us. Because October 1st, the podcast awards nominations are open. You go and nominate one time, and then we're in. You know, all of you nominate once. We're in like we were last year. And from what they're saying, just getting nominated gets you tickets to the podcast awards ceremony at NMX in Vegas in January, which we're going to be speakers at anyway, but we're still working on that.
Right,
So,
and
say-
I think we're under the general category this year.
We are under the general category this year, and we really need your help getting nominated like we did last year. And it's becoming a much bigger deal to be a part of this, so we really appreciate your help.
Whoop, whoop. So we'll send that. We're going to send that blast out, and it'll be on all our social media, so you'll see it there. You
But
just have
that's-
to nominate once, and then vote a lot afterwards.
The best way to do it is to sign up for the newsletter. Then you get private videos from Mordant. Not that kind of private. Articles from me that you don't get anywhere else, and stuff from our team about where they're living and what they're doing. And you really should sign up for that. It's awesome.
There you go. There you go. Those of you who are listening to this on a podcast, we are live every Tuesday night, now at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. As we just said, theothersideoflive.com / NAS. Those of you who are listening to us live, if you want to check out older versions of this, you can go to theothersideoflive.com, or you can go find us on iTunes. We're also available there.
This is true.
This is true. So say we all.
Anything else? I think that's it. Of course, we're on Facebook, The Other Side of Live on Facebook. BC and Tosol. I apologize. But you can go to, I think you can go to theothersideoflive.com / Facebook. Basically, try it. Try theothersideoflive.com / and add a word, and there's a good chance you'll find us.
So yeah, find us on Facebook. We've got about a minute left. I think that's it. Any other words of wisdom for tonight's poo flinging? I thought we flung some good poo.
Duck.
There we go. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this has been our Mordant Mon.
And that seems like a personal problem, Bear.
Chow drink catcher. Chow drink catcher. Maybe I should let you say it this time.
Let the crowd say the ending.
Yeah, 2 people knew it. Everybody, boom, baby. Boom, baby. There we go. We'll edit that.